Alright lads, it's Metagoblin here, and welcome to my generic macro guide for World of Warcraft. This macro guide is going to be applicable to every single class and specialisation in the game. Every single spec is going to find it useful in the game because I'm going to go through all of the individual macro categories and then you can apply them to all your unique spells and abilities. So let's jump into it. Basically, the first macro I'm going to teach you is the multiple function macro. This is basically a macro which is going to do a number of things within the same button. Basically, any ability which is off the global cooldown can be used at the same time as another ability off the global cooldown. It can also be used with an ability, like one ability on the global cooldown, but you can't put two abilities on the global cooldown in the same macro, even if the first ability in the line of the macro cannot be used, but the second one can. It just doesn't work because that would just be basically botting. So here, for example, I have slash cast the White Tiger, which is my one of my DPS cooldowns. It was also with my Bloody Fury racial, which is the Orc racial to increase my DPS, and it also comes with the trinket, because you can use but you can put slash user then link the trinket's name, or you can use slash 13 or 14, I think. Yes, so you can use slash 13 and 14 like that, and that will basically use both of the trinkets at once. Second macro type is probably one of the most useful macro types you can ever have, and it's called a Mouseover. What this will basically do is, if I cast it normally, it will apply to my target, my current target, but if I mouse over a different target, then it will apply to that mouse over target. This is great for when you need to CC an ad in a boss fight, or you need a DPS, or spread your darts, you know, something like that. It's useful in arenas sometimes, but you probably want to use a focus macro, which we'll talk about later. So let me give you a quick example. I'm just going to target this Plane Strider, but I'm actually going to taunt the carrion bird over here. So as you can see, I'm targeting the yellow mob, and we're going to taunt the red one. Would recommend also applying this to your melee abilities. You know, I'm not even targeting this mob here, and I'm just going to do that, and I didn't even need to target him. It's not essential, but it makes combat feel a little more fluid. Like sometimes when you've got a big pack of ags, it's kind of difficult to target one to get your DPS out on. But if you just use a Mouseover macro, it just makes things a lot simpler. So the macro I have for you here is basically, it is a focus macro. It's also a modifier. So basically, I'm going to press a keybind, which is 5, and that's going to go on my current target. But if I hold Shift 5, it's going to apply to my focus target. You don't have to make macros like this, but it just saves space because it's all in one macro. So yeah, but you can also just use a macro like this, and it will just slash cast that focus mind freeze if you don't want to use a modifier macro. This is basically your bread and butter of crowd controlling or doing anything else to a healer in an arena. But you can also use a focus macro in any situation. The next macro I have for you is basically the specific target macro. This is great for healers, definitely in arena, because manually targeting, it's just going to have a really bad effect on your maneuverability if you have to click to play you know, the party frames. It's just not a very efficient way. What you want to do is you want to make 2 macros for each of your arena partners slash target, and then followed by their name, or you can use party member 1 or something like that. Another example will be spells that you need to specifically target on yourself, for instance Gorefiend's Grasp. Basically you've got to slash cast that player, and then that will cast directly on yourself. I've also got Lichborne macro here, which will cast Lichborne and then cast Death Call on myself, so I don't have to manually target myself. You can also use slash cast that pet and then followed by the spell. I have this for instance with Death Call for whenever I need to heal my pet. You can also use macros like this one to directly affect arena targets, so this will directly Death Grip either one of the arena players. You basically just swapped out the number depending on which player you want to put it on. I also recommend this macro here, which is going to directly focus either the arena 1, 2 or 3. It's definitely useful for when you're against those healers at stealth and you kind of lose the focus target, and then you have to manually put it back on with your mouse, which is just extremely inefficient. You don't want to be doing that. It's better to just have a keybind which does it all for you. Remember, you can also make pet macros for all of their abilities, like for instance the pet ghoul's his huddle, you can keybind that. You can also keybind his stun, which I have somewhere. See this, basically it will do his leap and his stun on a Mouseover. I'd also recommend this macro here, which is going to put your pet on follow and passive, which basically stops him from running around after people in a battleground. You know, since that normally prevents you from actually mounting, because you know, you actually stay in combat for a horribly long amount of time. This macro here will make your pet attack and put it back onto the assist. I like to put this sometimes with certain abilities, so that when I'm like switching target, the pet will switch a lot faster rather than, because the default assist function, it's actually pretty slow on actually responding. Also got this macro here which is going to make your pet move around. You know, and that's pretty much it for the pet macros. To cancel buffs or effects on yourself, you can use the /CancelAura Macro followed by this spell. Like for instance here I have a Lichborne, you know, say for instance like a priest is casting Shackle Undead, and I've still got Lichborne on me, then I'm obviously going to get feared, and that's extremely irritating. Also for stuff like Iceblock, if you want to get rid of Iceblock or Hand of Protection, then this macro is definitely going to help you out. This is another useful macro here. What this macro will do is it will put the skull raid marker on your current target. So, you know, it's a lot better than actually manually right-clicking the unit frame and applying the skull. It's definitely useful if you're a raid leader, and you need to like tunnel everyone's damage. Definitely going to be beneficial. Remember that you can use the /use function in a macro line for like a lot of things, like a potion, a health potion, the healthstone, you know, a lot of things, so always remember to use that. Here's a macro. Basically, sometimes when you're still casting, you can't prevent the cast, and you might need to use something urgently like blink or a defensive cooldown or an interrupt, or something like that. And what this will do is it'll like basically break your cast. So you got /stop casting /blink. Say for instance you need to get the hell out of somewhere, or you think you're going to get spell locked, then this will just like stop your current cast and it'll cast blink. You may think that's useless because you can just move or jump to get rid of a cast, but some casts, you know, you can still cast while moving. So it's going to like break the cast and then do whatever you need to do for it. Say for instance like a spell lock, like counter spell, or a fear or something like that, or a defensive cooldown. Then it'll prevent you from, it'll break the cast, and then you can carry on doing whatever you want to do. Now the macro I want to finish on, since it's generally like advised against, is a cast sequence macro. Like some people put their entire rotation into this macro, and you know sometimes it's just a little limiting. But sometimes, you know, you have a few abilities which are used in a sequence like all the time, so you may as well just have it in one macro. So here's the macro. You've also got a reset timer. You put a reset equals the number, however you like, basically how long you want it to, for it to take to return to the original spell. So I'm going to cast it, so it's Icy Touch and then Plague Strike, and then it goes back to Icy Touch. If I cast Icy Touch one more time, wait for 4 seconds, and then it'll go back to Icy Touch like that. You can put like, I don't know, you can put 50 abilities in here if you wanted. Some people put her in, you know, over defensive cooldowns. Whatever you need to use in a sequence, then, you know, put it into this macro, but I wouldn't put like your entire rotation in. But some people split it in into 3 macros, so they split their entire rotation to about 3 macros. But you know, I prefer to like not be limited to about 3 buttons. You know, because environments change. You might need to use something in a different environment to increase your DPS, and then if you know you can only use a certain ability, then you're going to be in a bit of a rough, tough spot. But anyway, lads, that's where I'm going to leave the video for now. My name is Metagoblin, until my next video, ciao!